Hey, happy Monday. Hope everybody's doing well. I hope you're getting ready for the playoffs this weekend. Today, we're going to listen to Isaiah Hoffman. He's the voice of the IU East Red Wolves. Cascade Hoops Talk starts right now. Hey, there's all kinds of people that make NAIA basketball possible. Obviously, players, coaches, athletic directors, administrators, but there's also the fans who I just love the fans of NAIA basketball, the fans, the families, the voices, and Isaiah Hoffman is the voice of the IU East Red Wolves. I don't know about you, I'm a little bit older guy, but I grew up every summer and winter with a headphone in my ear, listening to either baseball or basketball, and those people who provided those broadcasts became someone I felt like I knew. Eventually, as I got older, became friends of mine. Very important part of my youth and my life. There's something about it. I just enjoy listening to the broadcast, and I admire people who can do it. I've had the opportunity a couple times to do color during basketball games. Well, I love that. If anybody ever is interested in that, I'm your man. I'll bring my own headset. I love doing that. But Isaiah Hoffman, he's a student at IU East. He got into this in high school. He's going to talk about that. He does a great job. IU East has a really good production setup. So I wanted fans to just hear a little bit different take on NAIA basketball. I'm going to shut up and we're going to listen to Isaiah Hoffman, the voice of the IU East Red Wolves. Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Hey, I got Isaiah Hoffman, the voice of the IU East Red Wolves. Oh, say that 3 times fast. Isaiah, thank you for being on.
Oh, that's no problem. I'm happy to be on.
So tell us, what is your role? What do you do with IU East basketball?
So my role at IU East is I broadcast every home game for men's and women's basketball, also along with men's and women's volleyball and men's and women's soccer. And so I broadcast all the home games for them, and I also do a TV show with the TV station that we have on campus, WETV, and we do a bi-weekly show. It's called Inside IUE Sports, and we talk to coaches and athletes. We'll do season previews, mid-season interviews, and end-of-season interviews as well.
I've seen some of those productions. It's a pretty high production value for a university. How did you get into that?
So I started at Warren Central High School. It's in central Indianapolis. I've wanted to be a broadcaster since I was little. So
okay.
I've actually wanted to broadcast since I was watching NASCAR when I was little. I don't know if you know who Mike Joy is.
Yeah.
But he was the one that kind of made me always interested in broadcasting. So I've always wanted to broadcast, and then when I got to Warren Central, Warren Central is one of the bigger high schools in Indianapolis, along with like Carmel and Center Grove, and they have a radio program and a TV station program as well. And you take the introduction class for both, and then your freshman year, and then your sophomore year, you get to pick which one you want to do. And TV, they don't let you broadcast the games, but you do the behind the scenes work. Radio, it's all student led, and it's in the overseer, the teacher, he just kind of, he gives advice, he gives help, but most of the time the broadcasts are ran by the students. So I went ahead and picked radio, and I did radio broadcasting at Warren for 3 years. And my senior year, I won Best Radio Interview. I interviewed Kyle Nenripe of the Indy Star, and then I also won Best Radio Play-by-Play in high school as well my senior year.
Wow, you really caught the bug, didn't you, Isaiah?
Yeah, so I wanted to broadcast since I was little. In my freshman year, I was actually on the swim team. And my sophomore year, when I finally decided I wanted to broadcast, I actually quit the swim team before telling my parents. And then when I got home from school, I asked. And luckily, they were like, well, it's funny because my mom was like, oh, you can't get a scholarship for broadcasting. And funny enough, IU East gave me a scholarship to broadcast. So I always find that funny. But my stepdad was the one that was like, if he wants to do it, let him do it. He can be
Yeah.
done with sports.
Oh, that, I used to work with this guy that he went to school. He was they don't call it debate, but whatever. He went to Illinois State. It's
Uh-huh.
something like, but when he was telling me, and he got a full ride scholarship to Illinois State, and I told him, I said, if I'd have known there were talking scholarships, I'd have been all over that.
And
So
you know what? I had no idea when I was sophomore in high school when I left this. I just was like, oh yeah, you can definitely get scholarships for broadcasting. I just wanted to be done with sports and just be have a headset on. So
yeah. So
it was definitely a gamble for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about IU East basketball. They had a good season, not a great season. It was a little bit disappointing, I'm sure, for fans. It was a little bit up and down. Just talk about the season.
So I think when the season was starting to come together, I think, even when I was kind of looking at the roster and everything else, I think the biggest thing, especially at Media Day, was the height. Our height was definitely something that I was wondering how it was going to affect us. But I think the first couple of games of the year, and obviously I think for at least the teams in the River State Conference, I don't know how the other teams work. I know, like, for us, the non-conference schedule is not really the be-all, end-all. It's really when we get to conference season.
Sure.
And even in non-conference, we were keeping up with teams that were nationally ranked. I forgot the name of the team that we played, but it was an away game, and they were ranked very high in the NAIA. And we kept it close. I think we only lost by maybe 8 or 10 points.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that just kind of told us, like, okay, if we can compete with some of the national ranked teams in the country, we can definitely compete with, teams in the River States Conference. So I think it gave me a boost of confidence. I think and I said it at the end of the year, I think we got hot at the wrong time because, in the end of the season, we dropped some really crucial games. We lost to Alice Lloyd.
Yep.
We lost to St. Mary of the Woods, who was by far, once everything started to flesh out, you could see St. Mary's was definitely the top team by far. And, we dropped a lot of crucial games, whether they were home or away. I think the biggest one was the loss to WVU Tech right before the conference kicked off the tournament.
Yep.
But then we bounced back and beat Rio, and Rio was a big win. It was definitely an up and down year. And then, Anton got sick, I think, right before the conference game, if I'm right. And then Jake came back for the Rio game, but that was the last game right before the tournament. So he had a ankle injury or something like that. So Jake wasn't really himself either. So I think hot at the wrong time was definitely the words I used once the season was over.
Isaiah, I wanted to ask you about that because it looks like you're talking about Jake Johnson, senior. He 20-point game, 6 rebounds, big part of the team. He was out those 4 games right there at that period you're talking about, and you lost 3 out of 4 of them. That looked like a really pivotal part of the season.
Yeah, it was definitely a part of the season because I think before those 4 games we were tied with Riot. Like there was one point in that 3-4 game stretch where it was like a 3-way tie for second, mm-hmm. or a 3-way tie for first. Like like the West Division was already decided. Like St. Mary's had won the division, but on the East Division it was IU East, Rio, Shawnee State, and Alice Lloyd, and we were tied with Rio most of the way through the year, and then we lost to St. Mary's, and then that put us in a 3-way tie with Alice Lloyd and Shawnee, and then Shawnee, Alice Lloyd, and Rio were tied for first, and then it all came down to the last couple games of the year. It was intense. But I think even when Jake went out, I think I knew and the team knew it. They could win without Jake because that first Rio game at home, we had beat Rio without Jake, but on the contrary, on the other side of the coin, Rio shot 0 of 26 from 3 at home, or when they came to IU East that first game. So that also helped us get the win in that one as well.
Yeah. Well, the River States, you make a good point. I cover the conferences pretty close, and every night I would pull up the standings, and there were so many conferences, and the River States is one of them, that it was just a dogfight down the stretch. Just teams all tied up, all knotted up. You're just like, what in the world is going to happen here? And definitely the River States was one of those.
Yeah, it was crazy to keep up with. And I think even and you look at how the tournament played out, the West Division, I would say we didn't pay attention to it much. At least I didn't, just because, okay, St. Mary's won.
Right.
And I didn't even realize Kokomo basically had the same record as the top 4 teams in the East Division. And then Southeast was the one that got to the finals of the tournament. And I didn't even realize they were that competitive, because I don't think they came to us this year. So I didn't get a good look at Southeast like I usually do. So it was definitely a shock to see the other 2 teams in the West Division be as competitive as they were, because we were so focused on the East. But Alice Lloyd, I mean, they can shoot. I think that was their biggest thing this year, is that they could definitely shoot the ball, and that's why they gave us so much trouble. And then Shawnee State, I mean, they're just an aggressive team. They're very aggressive. The biggest thing was rebounding, and I think, like I said at the start, at Media Day, I think height was the biggest question, and there were some times that height was definitely affecting us. But I think it's also it was Terrell Jewell. It was his first year, because he had been redshirted, and then he didn't play much last year. So this was his first real season, like full season as the starter.
Okay.
And he had some ups and downs, but he's only a sophomore. And I think next year, a full offseason to work out, I think Terrell Jewell's really going to be a vocal point for us next year.
IU East, as you know, is a historic program. Lingle Court is, everybody knows where it is. And Mark Hester, I think one of the best coaches in the country. I met him years ago at Branson. I was really impressed with him. He's tough-nosed, but he's a good guy. Talk about Mark Hester and the coach of the Red Wolves there.
Hester was actually, so when I had my visit to IU East, Hester was one of the first coaches to say what's up. Well, it was actually his game that I went to. And I mean, he has always been, he's been very supportive of what me and Corey do. He's a stand-up guy for sure. And I think with the way he coaches, I mean, it's definitely, he's very aggressive,
Intense.
if that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But it works, and he finds the players that work with how he does things. And I think that's, he finds a way to motivate his players, and he gets the job done. And I don't know what he would say about this year. I haven't got to talk to him about it yet. But, you look at the last couple of years, and, even when we got to talk, the last couple of years, there was definitely some frustration. I feel like this year, for him, it's, he hates losing. That's his biggest thing. He's like, I'd rather I get more enjoyment out of not losing than winning. So that's the way he puts it. But I think if you look at the last couple of years and you look at this year, I think he definitely sees the improvement. So I'm curious to see what his plans are heading into the off season going into next year.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Since the NAIA went to the 1 division, it's so competitive now. Every time I talk to a coach, I tell them I feel sorry for them, because they're like in an arms race. You get 2 or 3 guys, and then you look, down the street, and they got 2 or 3 guys that are a little better, and then the next guy up the street it's just an arms race. I don't know how these coaches keep their sanity, honestly. And the level of talent, Isaiah, has just exploded.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. I think the big thing, with coaches now is, everyone has the option to transfer. And I think that's a big thing, And I've always been, I think even when I was starting to learn more about college sports and everything else was, if the coaches could leave, I didn't see why the players couldn't leave. And I don't think it's a bad thing that players want to take a chance on themselves either, to try to go up to that next level. And if not, they can always come back, if that's an option as well. But it's definitely hard for coaches. Like even Rick Pitino at St. John's, he was saying, we're not going after high school kids. We're just looking at transfers, because we got to replace these guys that are giving us 19 points a game or 20 points a game.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with what you're saying. I mean, you can never doubt a guy or question a guy if they want to improve themselves. But it's like you and I talked a little bit just before we started. It's always just tough on a program, because fans become loyal. It's just tough. But it's just a reality of where we are right now. But what you said about Pitino saying, I'm not going to go after high school kids. I think this is one of the reasons that you're seeing such high level basketball players coming into the NAIA. uh, it, because
Yeah.
the level of talent is, I mean, if you compare it to say 12 years ago or something, it's not even comparable. This level at the NAI is, uh, I think it's equal to D2 and D1 low major or mid
Yeah, and
major.
I would agree. When I got to IU East, I was very blurry on the NAIA and the competition level. But as I've been here for the last 3 years now, it's definitely shown me players can go from one level all the way to the next level. We had a player on the women's team, Davina Smith. She played 2 years at IU East. She left after her sophomore year last year, and she went to Indiana State. So it's definitely a pathway that people can use to get to the next level, because the basketball played, it's at a very high level. These games mean a lot to the players, and there's a lot of really good programs. I think, Point Park just left the River States Conference last year, and they moved up. That was a really good program. IU Kokomo's always been a strong program.
Yeah.
There's even programs that I've never got to see, but they're always nationally ranked, because I always check the rankings, of course. But there's so many good programs for sure.
So maybe you can shed some light on this. I'm not that smart. When I look at the River States and try to figure out their playoff setup and who wins the conference, and it's always confuses me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
St. Mary of the Woods won the conference as, what was it? Because they had the best overall record?
They have the best conference record. So that confuses me. Well, from what I know is that they've changed the way the playoffs has worked the last couple of years. I think last year there was a play-in. This year there wasn't a play-in. So there's been a lot of changes from what I know. I honestly don't know it that well, but yeah.
Okay.
So basically, what I alluded to it earlier, but yeah, for IU East, and I think a lot of the teams, whether it's volleyball or soccer for us, they use that non-conference record, that non-conference schedule to test themselves, see where they're at, to get ready for conference, because conference is what matters. That conference record is what's going to place you in the tournament at the end of the day. And then if there's a tiebreaker, I could not tell you how a tiebreaker works. So I would, if we would have been tied with Rio at the end of the year, I would have had no idea how a tiebreaker works. But yeah, it's all about the conference record in the River States Conference for sure.
I'd have to look back again, but I'm not sure that I ever figured out who, since St. Mary won both the conference and the tournament, I'm not sure if I ever figured out who got the second auto bid. It wasn't really, I don't think it was.
Southeast.
Oh, that's right. It was the tournament runner-up. Yeah, it was in the bylaws.
Yeah.
Yep, you're correct. So you've been doing this, and are you still a student?
Yeah, so I am still a student. I'm wrapping up my junior year. We still got men's volleyball going on. It's our first season of men's volleyball. So I'm busy with that now. But yeah, so I've got this semester and then one more year, and then that'll be it for me as the voice of the Red Wolves. But I'm enjoying it. I've had so much fun.
So you're and I'm assuming you're majoring in what, broadcast or radio, or what is your actual major?
So I have a minor in criminal justice. My major is still a little foggy.
Okay.
I was taking communications, but I think the biggest thing for me was it kind of felt like the same stuff I was taught in high school right before I joined the advanced program.
Yep.
And with a lot of people I've talked to that are in the business and stuff like that, they were like, they really just want to see a diploma at the end of the day. It doesn't necessarily have to be communications. And since I've been doing it in high school, they were like, you definitely have the reps. So I was told not to worry about it. So
what is it when you graduate? What is it you would like to do?
Definitely basketball. If I could, definitely do basketball. I kind of have it sorted out. So basketball is definitely number one. Volleyball is actually number two. Volleyball, I actually started calling volleyball when I got to IUE, and I've loved it ever since. So I definitely would put volleyball at number two. Racing would be number three.
Yeah.
And then football would be at fourth, which is crazy because I love football, but I would definitely put it at fourth, maybe because I haven't called it since high school.
Okay.
But I'd probably put football at fourth and then baseball at five, because I got a little small sample size of calling baseball at high school, but I didn't get enough to really rank it higher.
Well, that's really cool. So what is it about calling basketball that you enjoy?
I think maybe it's because of my knowledge of the sport, and
Okay.
the energy it gives me, because I think I know what's going on a little more. I know football pretty well. I definitely know volleyball way better than what I did.
Yeah.
But basketball, I've always known. You know, I played AAU when I was little. I'm always watching basketball. If NBA is not on, I'm watching college. If college is not on, I'm going to Warren for high school to watch it. So basketball has just always been my sport. Basketball and racing were the first sports I got into. So it's always been basketball for me.
Well, it's definitely a lot of fun. I've had an opportunity a couple times to put on a headset and do color, but I love it. I would do that every night if I could. It's so much fun. So I don't blame you for catching the bug. I hope everything works out for you. I'm looking forward to listening to you next season again. I like to watch the IU broadcast. You do a very, very good job with them.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'd love to be on more, season previews, stuff like that. I would definitely love to. This was fun.
Yeah. Well, you can learn how the River State's mechanics works, and you can come back on and explain it to me.
You know what? We've had some River State's people in the building, and I didn't ask, maybe because it was the game against Brescia.
Yeah.
When we lost, so I was just like, it's over with now, so I'm not even gonna ask. But I'll definitely have to ask and then come back to you for sure.
There you go. Hey, Isaiah, I really appreciate you giving me some time. I've really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's no problem.
That's Isaiah Hoffman. He's the voice of the IU East Red Wolves. Thank you, Isaiah.
No problem.
Hey, thanks a lot to Isaiah Hoffman, voice of the IU East Red Wolves. I really enjoyed that conversation. We'll get him back on probably next season, but just something a little bit different for you this week. Look forward. You're going to see several interviews this week. I can't tell you the order yet. I'm still working on it. But Coach Wright out of Langston is going to join us, Langston Lions. Coach Ted Albert out of Indiana Tech, and then Coach Emmenheiser out of Madonna. We'll get them on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then on Friday we're going to play basketball. As I said, go find that schedule. It's really easy to find. If you have any trouble, just send me a note on X or Twitter. I'll send you a link. But even if your team isn't in, follow these playoffs because, man, it is fun. That's all I have for today. I'll join you tomorrow. Thank you very much for supporting our podcast. Please like and subscribe. Get out to your local NAIA school because NAIA basketball is the best entertainment value in America.